What up guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to show you 5 tricks that absolutely anybody can learn when they first start skateboarding. These tricks you can do before you even learn to ollie. My name's Hardy and I'm the creator of Skate Yourself, a skateboard company that looks to make a positive impact through the use of skateboarding in the local community. We're based in Calderdale, West Yorkshire, that's in England, and these videos are through a partnership with the Orange Box, a local youth service in Calderdale where we're based. This video today that I'm going to be showing you is going to be super in depth, so I'm really going to break down the tricks that we're talking about so that you guys can truly understand them and that you know all the parts of it. There's other tutorials on the channel as well that are all just as in depth as this, so if you like it, please give it a like and go check out some other videos if you want to. And with that said, let's start talking about what we're going to talk about today. So, like I said at the start, today's video is going to be about 5 tricks that absolutely anybody can do before they even learn to ollie. You may have just got a skateboard, you may not even have a skateboard right now, and just looking at some tricks that you might want to do straight away if you get a skateboard this weekend, tonight, whenever, or maybe you're just doing some research. But anyway, anyone who's never picked up a skateboard to someone who maybe just never thought about these tricks can do these tricks straight away. They might take a little bit of practice, but that's all that skateboarding is. You're gonna have to practice to get the tricks down. So yeah, none of these tricks include an ollie, so don't worry about it. If you've not got your ollie down, don't worry about it. These are some things that will really help to build your confidence up before you learn the ollie and some other tricks. These tricks are going to be really different, so have a lot of fun with them. Try them out, try different things with them, show your friends. Skateboard is all about creativity. There's no right or wrong way to skateboard, so just have fun with what you've got. I'm sure that you can use the tricks that I show you today and do them completely in your own way. At Skate Yourself, we've got these tricks actually laid out in these trick cards where we highlight tricks that you can learn from absolute beginner to advanced skateboarding. This is actually level 1 of the tricks cards, so the easiest that we've got, the easiest tricks that I can show you. So that should make you feel comfortable and confident that you can do all the tricks today. Before I get into the tricks, you might need to know one thing. You might want to learn how to push and ride a skateboard first, because that's going to build your confidence on a skateboard, and then it's going to mean these tricks are easier to learn. Like I said, these tricks are super easy, so you guys should get them down straight away, but you might want to be able to ride around first. We've actually done a video about the basics of riding a skateboard, so if you do need to go watch that first, go check it out. It'll be good for you, and then come back here and learn these tricks. But if you can ride around, or you're just doing some research and want to know what you can learn, then this video's for you. So the first trick is just going to be jumping on your skateboard. Jumping on your skateboard can be one of them things that helps you build speed, allows you to ride around, and it allows you to build comfortability with the skateboard. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to have the skateboard in front of you and you're just going to jump onto it in any kind of way. So you can jump on forwards, jump on backwards, and that's all this trick's about really. It's just about being stood on the ground and jumping onto your board. Now I can understand jumping on your board can seem quite scary. People that I've taught before get quite nervous around this trick, so I'll try break it down to you so that you don't have to be so nervous about it. Basically, jumping onto a board is pretty simple. It's just like pushing, however that you don't need to do the first push. Now before we start jumping on the board, there's one thing you do need to know. However fast you go at the board is how fast the board will go once you jump on it. So when you're first learning this, don't run and jump onto the board, because when you first jump on, the board's going to go really fast, and if you're not ready for that really fast speed, then you're going to fall off, and we don't want that. So at first, either try just jump on from the side or jump on when you're walking towards it. So I'm going to go over the foot placement for this trick. So there is no foot placement before you start the trick, because you'll be stood on the ground, you'll be stood on the floor, so just stand on the floor however you would like to. I do recommend standing with your front foot first, as this will mean that when you jump on the board, you want to be jumping on forwards rather than jumping on so that you're riding backwards when you jump on. But yeah, you can stand anywhere really. I would suggest with your feet apart and somewhere near the board, so making sure that your feet are apart on the floor. Okay? Now, on the board, once you've jumped on, where are you going to want to put your feet? Well, you're going to want to put your feet on the bolts of the board. Now, if you can put your feet on the bolts of the board, just like this, that means when you're going to land, you're not going to have your foot on the front of the board or the back, which could allow you to pop it up and slip out. We don't want that. So having it on the bolts of the board mean that when you land, no matter how much pressure you put on either foot, the board's not going to go crazy and you're not going to fly out. So that's kind of how you want to land on the board. So jump onto the bolts. Now with that said, let's get on to how to actually do the trick. So the way you're going to do the trick is we're going to break it down really slow. You're going to want to walk towards the board. You're going to want to walk towards the board from a direction where you're facing the board. So you don't want your back to the board when you jump on, you want the front of your body facing the board when you do jump on. And you're going to want to walk towards it really slowly. Or maybe as a tip, if you are nervous, just do it completely still, facing the board first, like shown here. But if you do want to do it moving, you're going to walk towards the board slightly, facing towards it, and you're just going to jump forwards and try and land on them bolts. Now when you land, you're going to want to make sure that you're leaning forward on the skateboard because you don't want to slip out backwards. If you lean back, obviously the board's going to move as you jump on with the force that you jump on it with. So you want to make sure that you're ready for that force and that movement. So lean forward so that you can compensate for the movement that pushes you forward. Just try and jump onto the board with your feet apart, land on the bolts and roll away. And it is just that simple. Just give it a go. Now I can understand jumping on at first can be quite scary. Maybe at first you're trying to jump on but you're chicken footing, meaning that your back foot is not landing on the board and it's landing on the floor. To build up that confidence, just stand still and jump on from still so that you're not moving onto it, and get comfortable just jumping on and off the board, jumping on and off. And then once you can jump on and off the board, then start building that walk towards it. Basically, when you do jump on, you want to either land with both feet flat on the board straight away, or you're going to want to land with your front foot first and then place your back foot last. Okay, if you place your front foot and then your back foot last, that'll allow you again to compensate for more speed, because once the front foot hits, the board's going to start moving and then your back foot's going to naturally land back on the back and support you. So you can either land with both feet together or front foot first and back foot first. Just make sure that you don't land with your back foot first, because that's going to mean that that's going to give you more risk of slipping out. So front foot first, the same way that we always push with our front foot and not our back foot. Now, if you have got this trick, what you're going to want to do is just practice. Just keep doing this trick over and over and over, just like you will with any other skateboard trick, so that you can get it down every single time. So that when you know you want to run and jump onto the skateboard, you can. Again, skateboarding is all about practice. So the more you practice this now, the better, because it means that anytime you do need to jump on the board, you can be confident that you can jump on the board. So if you do want to take this trick further, the first way you can do that is to push the board away from you at the start, and then jog up to it and jump on, building the speed that you do to jump on the board. By pushing it away, you're giving yourselves more space to build up speed while running and then jumping on the board. And that's also another way to take this into the future. Build up speed, run, and see how fast you can go to jump on the board. Because the faster you can go to jump on the board, the more comfortable you will be with the board and compensating for that speed when you do land on. So give it a go like that. Other ways to take this into the future are doing it switch, so landing on the board so that when you start riding you're going backwards. This can be a little bit more difficult, but it's worth practicing because you want to be able to ride your board forwards and backwards with full comfortability. And once you've got it down switch, that's pretty much all this trick can offer you. To be fair, you can also take it to do a ghost walk, but we're going to cover the ghost walk in another video. That's where you jump off the board and then jump back on the board. It's pretty fun. It's also another trick that you can do before you ollie, but we'll cover that in another video. So that's all that I can say about jumping on the skateboard. If you've got that down, great, because we're going to move on to the next one. The next one goes straight on from this, and it's called the baby leaf. It's one of the first tricks that I teach in my classes, and it's really good for developing confidence, and it looks pretty cool as well. For me, it was the first trick that I ever learned, and the first trick that I got a photo on. I remember taking a photo of it, posting on Facebook and saying that I did a kickflip. I don't suggest doing that because people can tell straight away that you're not, but that was a learning lesson for me. So, what is the baby leaf? It's where you place the board upside down and you jump onto it so that you're standing normally on the skateboard. It's really cool at the start actually, and there's tons of ways that you can adapt this into the future. So basically for a baby leaf, foot placement is key right here. What you're going to want to do for a baby leaf is you're going to want to flip your board upside down, and you're going to want to make sure that your feet are underneath the board but where the bolts are. A common mistake that I'll see with beginners is they'll put the feet together when they try this trick. However, when you jump on the board, your feet will be together and you'll slip out. You need your legs apart so you've got more compensation room so that you don't fall over when you land. So make sure that your feet are underneath where your bolts are so that when you land you'll be safe. Okay, cool. So it's going to look like this. The board's upside down, your feet are underneath. You want just pretty much your toes underneath the board, maybe a little bit higher, but not too much higher, because that's when you jump, you're not going to be able to flip it more. And with your feet underneath where the bolts are, all you're going to do is just like we did when we jumped on the board, is we're just going to jump forward and land onto the board. So as you jump forward, the board's going to flip around and you're going to land on the board just like that. I've lost one of my feet. And that's all a baby leaf is. It's just jumping forward and landing onto the skateboard. I can understand at the start that you can be a little bit nervous about doing this trick, especially as the board's not in the position where you want it to be when you first land, but that's why this is a great trick. You're trusting the board to flip over and land underneath you, which is essential. You need to trust your skateboard to learn some bigger skateboard tricks. So make sure that you get this one down and really trust that the skateboard's going to be underneath your feet when you go for it. This trick actually has a ton of other names as well. It's called the board flip. Every different town that I go to, it's called something new. So yeah, if it's got a different name in your area, don't worry about it. Now, if you are struggling with this, maybe take it to the grass, but I do believe that everyone can do this straight on the concrete. I wouldn't rely on the grass too much. It's not helping you. If you go and just did it straight on the concrete, you would land it straight away. But if it is necessary, go to the grass, learn it there, and then take it to the concrete. However, it is the same trick, so try not to do that. So, how can you bring this trick into the future? Well, you can do this trick in multiple ways. First, I've seen people do it into a 180. So you flip the board over and you do a 180 and land on the board. That's a pretty cool way to do it, and it looks awesome as well. It also builds up the skill and builds up your multitasking with your feet. So that's a great way to do it. You could also go for the 360. I've seen it done before. I've actually never done the 360 one. That seems it's a bit too crazy for me. But if you really want to go for it because it's fun. And it does look fun when people land it. It looks pretty cool as well. Another way that you can take this to the next level is putting it on the side of a curb and jumping off the curb and then onto the floor, landing on the board. So you're doing it from a height, do it from curb or a ledge. It's also a cool way to build up the skill that's necessary to land the trick and build up your confidence as well, which is essential. The more that you can feel comfortable on your board, the better your tricks are going to be, the faster you're going to learn. And lastly, this can be the start of learning to do a Casper flip. A Casper flip is where your front foot's under the board, but your back foot is actually on the tail of the skateboard. So the tail is right at the back of the skateboard, right here. And basically what you do is you do the baby leaf, but you actually lift your leg straight up and it does a flip and turns 180 at the same time. That's a really cool trick. If you want to go for that straight after learning this, that's absolutely fine. It's basically the same trick anyway, just adds a little bit of a shove it into it, but you can do it. Basically what you need to do is a scissor kick motion when you jump instead of just jumping forwards, and it'll land under your feet. I believe every single one of you can do that as well if you really go for it. I'll just show you now a couple more baby leafs so that you guys really can get it into your head what it looks like and how to do it. And then go away and learn this trick, because I think it'll boost your skateboarding a ton. So with the baby leaf done, you'd think that I'm over all the jumping tricks. I've got one more jumping trick for you today in this video, and this one is probably the most essential trick in skateboarding, I feel, for boosting your confidence. I actually mentioned it in the building confidence video that we did, and it is called the hippie jump. A hippie jump is where you jump off your board, leave the board riding on the floor, and then land back on it. It's just jumping on a skateboard, just without the ollie, so none of the ollie. It's a really great trick. It's a core skateboard trick. It's one of them tricks that even advanced skateboarders can find new ways to do it and build their skill with this trick, build the expertise needed to do it. So mastering this trick will actually teach you how to do some really advanced tricks at the same time if you can get really comfortable doing this trick. I think it's one of the most essential tricks to learn when you start out skateboarding, because it really comes from it really develops that understanding of your skateboard and the ability to trust your skateboard. So I really think this is an essential trick for you guys to learn. Basically, your foot position with the hippie jump is the same as the board jump and the baby leaf. It's basically just putting your feet where the bolts are on the board. So having both feet where the bolts are on the board. Now you can have your foot on the tail to do this, your back foot on the tail of the board. However, when you're first starting out, I suggest putting them both on the bolts of the board. The reason for this is when you jump, you're going to be pressing down on the board to jump off the board. But if your foot's on the tail, if you're not ready for it, or if you've not done enough practice with this trick, you could pop the tail when you do it and jump, and that'll throw you off a tiny little bit. So make sure that you're jumping with your feet on the bolts of the board, and that's really going to help you out. It's a very, very simple trick, probably the most simple trick that I'm going to teach you today. Basically, all you need to do is do a tiny little jump when you're riding your skateboard. You can do this still, you can do it moving, you can do it going really fast. But yeah, all you do is a tiny little jump. So if you're going to learn it, just start out, stop still, do a tiny, tiny, tiny little jump. Make sure that you stay leaning forward and go for it, and you'll do it. So that's all this trick is. It's just a tiny little jump on your skateboard. Now, if you do want to make this a bit more advanced, you can do a bigger jump. So what you're going to do is you're going to jump as high as you can and make sure that you tuck your knees. What I see people do is they jump with the legs straight and they get about this high off the board, which is alright, but it's not that high. If you tuck your knees up, you can make it this high off the board. Okay, even higher. And that's where you can start to get the more advanced stuff of this trick going. So yeah, make sure that you tuck your knees if you're going to go for the higher jumps, because that looks much better as well. It's really fun to do. Another tip for the hippie jump is if you're moving really fast, I always recommend looking down at your board so that you can see where your feet land, because you don't want to jump off the board, land back on and find that you've landed with your feet together or with your feet in a random position, because if you're moving fast that might throw you off the board. So look down, make sure that you know where your feet are going to land, especially at first when you don't trust the skateboard to do what you want it to do. Now, you can take this trick into tons of different other tricks. First, the number one that you might see, and you'd see a lot of, is where you get a bar and you jump over the bar, the board goes under and you land back on the board. Now, this sounds really difficult, but it's not. You could actually practice this right now with friends by getting a broomstick, have your friend hold out the broomstick, you ride really fast at the broomstick, jump, your friend slightly pushes it underneath your feet and land back on the board. This will build your confidence up to actually do it on real bars, and it is a ton of fun. I really suggest that you guys go out there and try this one. It is a really great way. Another way you can do it is just to find a really low bar and jump over it. You could even step onto the bar and then over, but that's more like a ghost walk, which we will cover in another video. But yeah, that's the number one way to do it, and that's the advanced way people do it as well. You'll see people at skate parks jumping over bars with hippie jumps, and it looks awesome. No matter how good you get at skateboarding, a good hippie jump always looks good, and you guys could learn that right now. Another way that you can turn hippie jumps into something more advanced is to turn them into body varials, and basically that's where you turn your body around and land back on the board the other way. So you do a hippie jump, turn your body around and land back on the other way. Perfect. Give that a go. Body varials are essential for some skateboard tricks. Especially mini ramp tricks, you use body varials all the time, so learning how to do them now would be really great. It also allows you to go to fakie without having to do a 180. So body varials are awesome, give them practice. Again, I'll show you some videos now of some hippie jumps so that you guys can visualize what hippie jumps look like, maybe some body varials as well, just so you guys can get a feel for them and then go out and learn them yourself. I know that you could learn this in 2-3 minutes, that's it, just a tiny bit of practice. And this trick will stay with you for the rest of skateboarding. So it's worth practicing now. Awesome, so we're going to go into our second to last trick, which is actually the manual. Now, you guys might have heard of a manual, or you might not have. But basically a manual is where you balance on the back two wheels or front two wheels of your skateboard and ride like that. So you balance on your skateboard like this and ride down the street. Now, manuals look really good, are quite easy, and are really essential to practice to get better at skateboarding. Manuals can be done in and out of tricks. They can be done just to make riding around the street more fun. They're good to practice. They're good. You can do them. You can practice them by yourself. Really fun. They're great to show off with friends. Manuals in general are just really great core tricks for skateboarding. So, how do you manual? Well, manuals are actually pretty simple. All you have to do is lift up the front of your board into the air and balance on the back 2 wheels. We're just going to go for a regular manual in this video. So if you're riding, you're just going to lean back slightly and lift up the front wheels of your skateboard like this and balance on your back 2 wheels. So what's the foot placement for a manual? Well, for a manual, it can be quite different for all different types of people, but I'll show you the most common way that I see people practice in a manual so that it can help you guys. So basically for a manual, you're going to need your back foot on the tail of the skateboard. I'd suggest it be in the middle, but most importantly, you want it as comfortable as possible on the back of the skateboard, on the tail. Basically, you need it on the tail because you're going to be lifting the front up. The front foot, you're going to want quite far up the board. I'd suggest covering 2 of the 4 bolts, maybe all 4 of the bolts if you want, but basically that far up the board so that your feet are spaced apart so you can get most balance. You can even have it a little further down, it doesn't matter too much, just so make sure it's not down the furthest side of the board because you won't have enough space between your legs to balance. So I'd say around here is the perfect foot positioning for a manual. Awesome, so now you know the foot position, how do you do a manual? So basically a manual is just lifting up the front of the board and balancing on your back 2 wheels, at least the manual that I'm going to be showing you today. There's also nose manuals, which is the opposite way around and balancing like this. But today we're going to be going over a regular manual. So with a manual, you're going to balance on your back 2 wheels. When you first start out, this balancing is going to be quite tricky, and so you're going to need to practice it a whole lot. But I promise you, with practice, it will get better and better, as all skateboarding tricks do. It's also one of them tricks that if you practice now, in the future, you're going to be thanking yourself tons. One of my biggest regrets is that I never used to practice manuals at all, and it really made me suffer the further into skateboarding I got because I just never practiced them, and so I never had that balance on 2 wheels. However, now I do practice them, and I love them. Basically, all you do for a manual, you need the center of your body weight to be above the back 2 wheels because that's the point that you're going to be balancing off. So you need to make sure that you lean back your shoulders and your shoulders are square above these 2 wheels at the back of your board. This is what makes it different from just riding. Most people will ride, lift up the front of the board and it'll slam back down. That's because they didn't lean back above the back 2 wheels. It's essential because that's where the balancing point of the board's going to be and that's how you're going to control it. You're also going to want your legs bent a little bit just to allow you that leeway to control the board a bit more. The way you're going to do a manual is you're going to lift it to about this point or maybe a bit lower. It can just in this general area. You don't want it too low because it'll be too hard to keep up, and you don't want it too high because you'll tail stall. So basically you want it right in the middle point right there and just balancing it by leaning back. You will get this trick just with a lot of time and practice. A great way to practice this trick is to find a car park, find the lines in the car park and just manual between the lines in the car park and get your balance up. You'll know you're doing it right when you keep going further and further past that line. But yeah, just balance on your back 2 wheels and you will get it. It's a really great trick and you guys will be thankful for it in the future. And it looks awesome. So if you're going to take this trick into the future and you want to make this trick a bit more advanced, you can actually go straight for nose manuals, or you can even try and do tricks into it. So maybe you do a hippie jump and land in a manual, or maybe you do jumping on your board and land straight into a manual, all that kind of stuff. Baby leaf to manual either. Just trick in and then land in a manual and see how long you can balance and then land out. You can even do a trick out if you want to, like a shove it out, but that might be a bit too advanced at the moment. But that's how you can take this to the future. So, what's the last trick that we're going to go over today? Well, it's called a revert. Revert is one of them tricks that is so essential to skateboarding that it might not even be called a trick, but I'm going to call it a trick here in this video because I think it's so essential for every single person to learn how to revert. So, what is a revert? Basically, a revert is when you turn your board around so that it's facing a different direction in skateboarding. I'm going to teach you guys how to do a fakie revert today, because a fakie revert is going to pop up so much when you're riding around skateboarding that you just need to know it. Basically, it's riding backwards, turning your board around and turning your body around so that you're riding forwards once you land. Now, fakie reverts can take a little bit of time to get, but don't get put off from them. It's just a big kick turn. Again, if you haven't watched the basics of starting to skateboard that we did a video on, go watch that because we talked about how to do pivots before and you're going to need to pivot to do a revert. But basically it's one big revert, It's one big pivot around from going fakie to going regular or goofy. So what's the foot placement for a pivot? Well, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want your back foot all the way across the back of the board, and you can have your toes just close to on the edge, just like this. Now your front foot you're just going to want on the front two bolts of the board, and you're going to want it totally on the skateboard as well, so it's not half hanging off. Basically that's going to make sure that your foot doesn't slip off when you do it. So that is your foot placement when you do a revert. So how do we do a revert? You're going to ride fakie and you're going to lift up the front of your board and you're going to do a backside turn so that your body is facing the way you're turning, and turn the board around and land going. Now this might sound easier than it is, but it is actually really easy. It just takes a couple tips to get it down. Basically what I see a lot of is people losing control of the board with the front foot. So the front foot will slip off either forward or backwards and not control the board nearly enough as it needs to. So what you're going to need to make sure you do is you have enough connection between your front foot and the board when you do it. That's why we have the foot placement of your full foot on the board. You want to also make sure that your turn is enough. People will turn a little bit and try and get it all the way around. You want to do it in one big motion. That's controlled by your shoulders. Your shoulder that's above your front foot controls your front foot, and the shoulder above your back foot controls your back foot. So you're going to need to turn the shoulder that's above your front foot all the way around and then lift the board, okay? Now you don't want to turn it fully and then lift the board, because that's going to spin out of control or it's not going to come around. You're going to want to do half a turn, lift up the board and continue the turn as your board follows behind you. So you're going to do the full 180. You want it in one nice motion. But I believe in every single one of you can do this. It just takes a little bit of practice. Now at first, if you can't do it, you might want to just do 180 pivots. So stand on the ground, not moving anywhere, and just try and turn backside, doing a full 180. And if you can do that, then go to the reverse. Again, start out slow and do it. But you can all do it, and it's super essential for you guys to progress in skateboarding. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, you can do this switch so that you're riding forwards and you do it with your foot on the nose of the skateboard, just like this, and turn it around so that you're riding backwards. That can also progress into you guys doing a power slide, which is a really cool trick as well. Basically where you don't put your foot on the nose of the skateboard, but you put it on the bolts and you push the board around with your back foot. Another way you can do this into the future is just doing a regular fakie kick turn, but actually doing an ollie with it. Again, I don't expect you guys to be able to do an ollie now, but I'm showing you how you can take it into the future. You do a big ollie with it and you turn it around at the same time, and that's called a half cab. We're going to cover that in another video, but that's a really easy trick to do with your ollie once you first learn it. Now, that's 5 tricks all done. However, I've got one more special trick for you guys just to go over really quick, and that's called a pop and catch. A pop and catch is where you pop your skateboard up, catch it in your hand, and then that's it. I didn't really want to say this were a trick, that's why I'm just going to class it as a bonus thing, but it's essential for you to know because you don't want to bend down and pick up your board all the time. It's really fun to do, and yeah, it's awesome. So, how are you going to do a pop and catch? Basically, what you're going to want to do is stand off your board, so there's no foot positioning on this one. Your board's going to want to be straight like this, and you're going to put your back foot over the tail so that your toes are just on the tail, not your full foot, just your toes, okay? And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pop your foot down and then push back and lift off, okay? And the lift off is essential. So you're going to pop your foot down, push back and lift off, and that's going to allow the board to rise like that. If you don't lift off, basically you're going to pop down, the board's going to get stuck there and it's never going to go higher, so you're not going to be able to catch the board. So make sure that you get it away from the board like that so that it can go up into the air. Now this trick is really fun, but I can see why it's quite scary to some people because you have to pop the board up and it's flying towards you and you've got to catch it. A great way to make it a little bit easier for you is to hold your arms out in front of you across your legs so that when it does pop up, your arms will catch it straight away on the palm like that rather than your fingers, because you don't want it to bang into your fingers. So try have your palms flat against your legs, pop it down and see if it'll land into your palms and just hit your arms there, because that won't hurt and it's a great way to build the confidence to do it. To take this one into the future, what you're going to want to do is pop down and actually try and slip your foot underneath the board before it lands. So don't catch it with your hands at all. Try and catch it with your foot. So you pop down, slip your foot back, and then put it back underneath straight away, and it should land on your foot, and you should be able to balance it on your foot for a little bit. And you can actually do tricks like this. So I've seen people do like full 180s and land it on the other side, so that they land it on the nose and then do that. I've never been able to do that, but I do like to catch it on my foot and then pick it up with my hand after that. So go have fun with that. Maybe you can be the next awesome skateboarder who can pop it onto the foot and do a load of crazy tricks. But it is fun to do, especially when you're practicing at the bus stop waiting to go to school or college or whatever. It can be really fun to pass some time doing that. Another way that you can do this trick is a nose catch. So basically you are riding the skateboard and you step off the skateboard and you pop down. When you do step off, you make sure that your front foot's on the front of the board on the nose, and when you take your back foot off, use the motion of the front foot pushing the board down to pop it, take your front foot off, and then catch it with your hand. It's really cool this. It's a really cool way to do it. Might be worth some practice. It will be a little bit harder, but it's the same idea. Make sure that your foot doesn't stop the movement and just pop it, get your foot out of the way and catch it. Again, it'll be coming behind you, so you're going to want to try and catch it from behind you. It might be a little bit more difficult, but not too much more difficult. And with that said, that is it. They're all the tricks I got. I gave you 6. I promised 5, gave you 6. There you go. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I enjoyed doing it. We're actually doing another video to follow this one up, talking about 5 more tricks that you can do before you need to learn to ollie that are just a tiny bit harder than this. These are from the level 2 of our trick cards. So if you did enjoy this video, definitely go check out that video and check out all the other videos that we got on the channel. Also, make sure to drop this video a like, and I'd like to thank Orangebox for helping us do these videos, because it wouldn't have been possible without them. So with that said, I hope everyone's having a great day. If you do need any more help, drop a comment in the comment section below, or message us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, any social media of your choice. We're on them all. The name's Skate It Yourself. And yeah, go out there, have a great day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.